Hi, I'm gonna do a little rant on why I love Batman but hate Batman fanboys. It's just a little rant. I mean, I've been doing a petition, as some people know, because I'm a huge DC fan. I love the big three: Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, and I think they're all equally interesting characters in their own right. They don't all have to be like badasses, Avengers of the Night to be cool, as far as I'm concerned. Like, they're interesting in their own rights. Like, Batman has his thing, and, his villains are cool in relation to him. But, Superman's villains are cool in relation to him. Like, Brainiac's awesome, or I think Brainiac is really, really cool. I think he's up there with the Joker. I think he's up there with the Riddler. I really do think he's like an awesome, awesome villain. So's Lex Luthor. And Superman. He's not the coolest guy in the world, but nonetheless, you know, that's all part of the mythology. Him not being cool, him being like just that good guy. He's not like some bad boy, like rebel kind of character. He's just Superman. He does good because that's in his nature, and that's the whole paradox of Superman. Because anybody who thinks, wow, what if I had that power, thinks, you're likely to abuse it, but somehow Superman has been imbued with virtues, with the virtues that humanity most cherish, and upholds and defends those virtues. So that's a really, really fascinating character to play with. And, can anybody rightly have that much power over people? It's just a very, very interesting story. The same with Wonder Woman, in the fact that she's this character who comes from paradise, comes from a world without violence, without prejudice, uh, you know without war, without poverty, and she comes to this world, and and it's an all-female society, and she comes to this world, a man's world, a patriarch's world, and finds that you know all of these things have been accelerated, like war and poverty, and all of these things have been accelerated far, far beyond anything she could have ever imagined. And she has the power to kind of change that, to try and, you know, like, to kind of fight for a justice and a better world, and she does. So those are two very interesting stories in their own right, and that's not taking anything away from Batman, but somehow Batman fans don't seem to realize, like, half the reason they love this character so much. I mean, he is awesome, he is cool, but half the reason they like him so much is because they haven't seen, like, most of them are movie fans. You watch the movies and then you think, oh, well, this guy's the coolest because he's in the movies, and his villains are cool, and he has like this kind of, he's this dark avenger of the night kind of, like, and he's paranoid, and he always has plans and strategies to get out of things, and they think that's the be all and end all, and that's it. That makes him the ultimate character. And they also think, okay, well, he's human, and that makes him more relatable. Even though he's a 1%, one of the 1% of the world, like, billionaire, who is far more detached from anything, like any real world kind of life, than, say, Clark Kent is, or Bruce Banner is, or he's far, far more detached than them. Yeah, they've got superpowers, but the fact is, he's a billionaire. That's the only way. that he can compensate for not having superpowers by being something that hardly 99% of the world isn't, which is, filthy, filthy rich. This is how he gets his arsenal, and everything about him stems from the fact that he is something that most of us do not relate to whatsoever. And yet fanboys go on like he's the most relatable character simply because he's human. They also go on like, oh well, Batman's cool because, Batman could kind of exist, like there is a possibility. But that's bullshit. I mean, Batman is so fucking unrealistic. It's ridiculous. I mean, and I love the character. Don't, like, I really don't want you to get me wrong. I really like Batman. But thinking about a character, if somebody, even the most skilled person, in fighting, and everything, try to do what Batman does, they get killed or arrested within the first, like, day of them even attempting this, to try and take on whole gangs of, like, say, drug dealers or gangsters or money launderers or anything like that. They'd get found out, one, because if they'd have to be rich enough to pull it off. And everyone would be like, okay, well, it's the rich guy. Like, obviously, it's the rich guy. Somebody has to be, like, paying for all this arsenal and stuff that he has, so it's got to be one of these rich guys. So they find out, first of all, who he is, and kill everybody he loves, and him. And then, second of all, even if it was the case, like, they wouldn't even need to find out who he is. Even as, this character, he'd still get, like, he'd still end up being killed, because you can't, like, dodge that many bullets. You can't, no one can do that. I mean, no matter how skilled a martial artist or what weapons or whatever you have on you, what armor you have on you. Plus, if you had any kind of heavy armor like Batman wears, you'd be barely able to move. There's no one who could be as swift and as agile as Batman wearing that kind of stuff. He's very, very unrealistic. And if we say, okay, well, he'd wear the thinner suit or whatever, rather than the heavier stuff, then he'd just get shot and killed. He's completely unrealistic. There's no way one man could wage a war against crime, and especially being a billionaire and using all his kind of material wealth to build up this arsenal. People would know about they'd know straight away who's behind it. They'd kill him. They'd kill everyone who's involved with him, and and then there's the fact that even if they didn't do that, they wouldn't need to, because, like, they see a guy and he's trying to be all kind of stealthy and whatever, and he'd just get killed. It's as simple as that. So he's highly unrealistic. In fact, if we're talking about the more realistic superheroes, the more realistic superheroes are the ones with superpowers. That's the fact, because they're the only ones who could genuinely fight the kind of evils that are supposedly faced in comic books. And, for instance, even if we're talking about, like, the most scientifically realistic superhero, then it's got to be someone like Captain America. Captain America's, so he's probably the most relatable superhero, because he's the only one who's actually even remotely possible. I mean, you could give a guy like steroids and, like, get him super fit and be more agile and stronger than most human beings, and give him, like one of those suits, and he uses guns and stuff like that. Or probably the Punisher as well. It's a very much more realistic superhero, if we're talking about it. then again, you know, like let's look at it from another angle. Like someone like Superman, um, is more. It's not like he's more possible, but the chance of it happening isn't completely like both of them are Batman and Superman are on the spectrum of the completely unbelievable. But the fact is, you know, there could be an alien race, much more advanced alien race in the universe somewhere who has evolved to have what appear to us to be superpowers. They could be stronger than us. They could be more durable than us, like some animals on this planet are, you know. And yeah, they could crash land into Earth, like one of them could crash land into Earth and somehow adopt the views of, you know, of our most cherished views of morality and decide to defend us against uh, threats too big for us to actually deal with. I mean, just like a bird can fly, so possibly could an intelligent being with wings or something like that, that's evolved to have wings on their planet for some reason, that has more durable skin for some reason, that has a greater strength, just like a bear, or you know, or is like fast, just like a cheetah is fast. You know, there could be a species of humanoid or intelligent, an intelligent species that have evolved to have all those things, or some of them. So that to us, they'd appear to be some kind of Superman. So once again, you know, that is more likely, and that person would more likely survive being a superhero than you know than Batman, or than a human billionaire who decides to wage a war against crime. So you know, I just find Batman fanboys their excuses for, you know, Batman being the coolest guy ever and how he could beat any superhero just because he's Batman. It's just pretty ridiculous. It's pretty juvenile, and it's probably holding back a lot of, you know, a lot of people are complaining about like not having, you know, films of other superhero characters, and a lot of it is because of the. I'm sorry, it's like, and I'm guilty of this as well. Is the popularity of Batman. DC and Warner Brothers are just sitting on their ass thinking, okay, this is a cash cow we can milk till the end of fucking time, rather than giving other superheroes a chance who are actually just as cool, like, you know, like Flash or like Green Lantern or Martian Manhunter. All of these characters, I mean, and you have to think of it like this. But if a film comes out of a character, then and people start thinking that character's cool, then more writing talent is going to want to work on it in the comics, which means more graphic novels of those characters, which means again more material for you know, people in the film industry to adapt, and that's what most screenwriters are. They're not like people who come up with the stories themselves. They adapt material to fit a screenplay, and if they don't have that material, then they're going to be hard pressed to come up with original ideas. Which is why Batman has like so many movies, because there's so many iconic story arcs of him to be adapted, and so many ways you can take the character. It's also why Superman is now having, you know, the Man of Steel. Again, it's because there's stuff, there's story arcs that script writers can work from. So you know, I just think like you're holding yourself back by being such a Batman mark. You're unless you're just a unless you're not interested in any other comic character or any other DC comic properties or seeing a Justice League film or anything like that, unless you're not interested in any of that, by being such a Batman mark, you're actually holding DC in their apathy towards the rest of the characters that most of us, I think, are dying to see, like, come to the big screen. You know, you're physically, you're virtually saying, hey, no, don't worry about other characters who are cool. We will just keep on giving you money for Batman until he's so boring that we hate him. You know, until he's just like played over and over and over. Oh, his parents died and he's a billionaire and he's such a badass, until you're just like fed up of the character. Just be like, you know, and there'll still be like these fanboys still, even till the end of days, just going and keeping this stuff going. And in the end, it's just going to ruin superhero movies, because like people, you know, now there's a big buzz around superhero movies and people want to see more of them. And finally, again, it's cool to be a comic fan. But that's going to be over pretty soon if all we're getting is mediocre, you know, Batman movies over and over again, rather than recycling and getting a bit more of different flavors of DC characters that could be as big as Batman if they were given a chance. So anyway, if you like this video, subscribe, and please give me any ideas if you want me to talk about any other characters or any other comic related issues. Thanks.